Good morning. Going strawberry picking today so I can make my yearly supply of strawberry jam. And so yesterday I went to the store and picked up some new canning jar lids and some pectin. I like the low or no sugar added formula just because I don't love to add so much sugar that normal jam or jelly calls for. I do put some in. It helps the jelly set a little bit better, and I do like a little bit of sugar in there. But yeah, so every year I go strawberry picking and I pick myself enough to make just little jelly jar. 6 to 8 of these lasts me a whole year. I think last year I made 10 jars or 12. I still have one more jar left from last year, but this is like the one small favor I do for myself every single year. It's so nostalgic for me. Most of my jars for both this size and my larger jars for canning in general are hand-me-downs from both of my grandmothers. Making jelly or going berry picking to help my gram make her jelly in the summer is so straight to childhood for me, so I love doing it every year. I always knew I would have my own gardens one day, but until then, this is the one yearly thing I do for myself. I generally make some easy things too, like dilly beans and maybe some pickles or whatever, but one day, I hope to have a full pantry just filled with things that I've made, and I cannot wait for that day, but we're not there yet. For now, we're just gonna go pick berries and make some jam using fruit that someone else has grown nearby. Now let's talk about the fact that it is easier and likely way cheaper to just go buy a handful of jars of jelly. To come pick these strawberries here today, first of all, it cost me $5 just to get in onto the farm to go walk around. That's without picking a single thing. Then after I picked, the strawberries cost me just under $42, and that's based on weight. So $47 in total to pick all of these berries to make my year's supply of jam, and it ended up making me 7 jars. Modern convenience makes it way cheaper for me to just go to the store and buy some jam. Will it be this fresh and organic? No, definitely not, but I could buy fresh organic and pay a little bit more, but again, probably still cheaper than $47. But in my opinion, modern convenience has stripped all connection to our food from our lives, and for me personally, I want to put that connection back into my life. When I was growing up, my grandmother let myself and my cousins go strawberry picking with her every year so that we could see the process of making jam from start to finish. And like I mentioned, when my grandmother passed away, I inherited a good chunk of her jelly jars. So all of these are hand-me-downs from my grandmother. And to me, it's like these jars and the process of making my own strawberry jam every year is one of the small connections that I still have to my grandmother. Even though I know she would roll over in her grave about the price of picking your own strawberries nowadays, it is still something I find so much value in doing. I also care about reducing my waste, and the fact that these jars have been used for years and years, and they will continue to get used for many years to come, that's such a huge reduction in waste than if I were to purchase jars of jelly from the store every single year. Since 2020, the desire to homestead or even just grow your own food in general has skyrocketed for various reasons. Food security and the cost of food are the least of those issues. Also, there's a rising interest in knowing where your food comes from, what's in it, how did it get here? And in addition to that, so many people are just craving more physical connection to nature. To me, putting your hands in the soil, picking something you've grown and cared for weeks, months, or even years is incredibly soul fulfilling. I think about it every single day, and I have for years. I recently mentioned that for my 40th birthday present next spring, I would love to give myself the gift of the lifestyle that I'm truly dreaming about all of the time, and what feels in my heart like the direction I want my whole future to go. And that is towards homesteading, taking control of my food in the nutritional sense, in the financial sense, in every way. Over the last 5 years, I have crushed 6 figures of debt, saved my first emergency fund, and built really positive financial habits that have allowed me to live in a really consistent budget for the last handful of years. Unfortunately, the last 18 months or so have been a little turbulent because of job changes and moving, and I've just felt like my life has felt so scattered. As you guys know, I will be moving again at the end of July, and I look at every move as a chance to just do a bit of a life reset, because it is a new living situation, a new location, new circumstances, and generally a new budget. So it's just a good time to sit down and reflect on where I'm at and what I'm going to be working with going forward. After I move next month and I get settled and my job normalizes and my expenses stabilize, I want to take that opportunity to do another financial reset. Because my life has felt scattered, I've not had my head in the game when it comes to budgeting and tracking my expenses over the last few months. So I really want to get back into the swing of saving a lot of money. And why I want to do that is because, like I mentioned, for my 40th birthday present to myself, I would love to gift myself with the lifestyle that I'm really dreaming about, which is homesteading and producing my own food and just living way more connected to nature. And you guys know I've been searching for a piece of property to buy for a couple years. The real estate market is not great, but no one can ever predict when it ever will be quote unquote great ever again. So I feel like I want to stop waiting around for the real estate market to come back to normal, because no one can say if it ever will or not. So I just want to stop putting off my dream and make my financial focus saving up, figuring out how I can get to the lifestyle that I'm dreaming about, which is homesteading and producing my own food and living way more connected to the land. How can I make that happen? And so I think the first steps are figuring out what my new budget will be and then putting together a game plan for saving. And yes, I do have a chunk saved up to purchase real estate right now, but obviously when it comes to that stuff, the more the better. I certainly want to put down as big of a down payment as I can, but also homesteading itself just tends to come with a lot of upfront cost, so I certainly want to prepare for that as well, considering I have no idea what kind of property I'm going to be looking at and what kind of state it's in. But I think since homesteading and the homesteading lifestyle is all I can think about, I think it makes the most sense to make that my new savings goal, because to be honest, I have felt really stale with my savings and my financial goals in general, just because I've kind of lost sight of a goal, or I felt like I've been disconnected from what it is that I want for so long, just because real estate has felt so unattainable. But lately I've been adjusting my expectations and really thinking harder on location and being okay with being in locations that are a little bit cheaper. And being outside and being one with nature, that's all I can think about. And so it just makes sense to me to make that my next financial goal and just try to save up as much money as I can for the down payment and then all of the costs that are associated with homesteading and growing your own food. We all know that's not cheap. I just need some new wind in my sail, I guess you could say, and this feels like exactly the wind that I need. So if you find yourself maybe lacking a little bit of motivation lately and would love a fresh start starting, in August or so. I'd love to have you join along. The motivation and encouragement I have gotten from this community has been astronomical. It is absolutely the backbone of my support system when it comes to my financial life and trying to get ahead, trying to get anywhere these days. It's harder and harder, and so all we can do is adjust course and take the next best step and do what feels right. And giving myself the home life of my dreams for my 40th birthday present just feels like the absolute best, most right next step for me. So if you do want to follow along, I'd be so happy to have you. It is several hours later, and the jars have pretty well set. My jam always separates like this. It happens to me every year. I just stir it when I first open the jar, and it's totally fine. I'm super excited. The color on these is just beautiful. So there, I now have my year's supply of strawberry jam. That should definitely hold me for a year. And I did freeze some to save for later to make a mixed berry jam. I also picked some honeyberries from my brother's food forest a couple weeks ago, I think, and I've had them in the freezer waiting for strawberry season because I want to make a mixed berry jam of strawberries, honeyberries, and blueberries. So I'll be doing that soon. So I didn't use all of the strawberries I got the other day, but most of them. That has definitely been a labor of love, especially on less than 3 inches of counter space. It's not ideal canning conditions whatsoever.